I think this is the moment that Susan has been dreading the most, because now I get a rebuttal. I want to start with a tremendous amount of thanks to Ruth Ann and Barry for opening up the camp yet again to Anshe Emeth. I was having a moment earlier today. We hadn't stepped foot in the camp since we were able to get back into the building with all the kids vaccinated. But this place has a special place in my heart because this was the only place where kids could come together to have social interaction during COVID. And you provided such a vital lifeline to these kids. Many of them are here right now and felt at home because this was their home for so long, that I can't thank you and Barry enough for doing this. And I had flashes of having the kids on the tires over there and telling preschool stories, or having them high school by the fire pit, or doing chorus study with tech here or in the office. And it was so wonderful to return to this place, not just because of the ability to have kids and the entire congregation here, but also for the memories that we had during COVID. So thank you so much. It was so wonderful to be back here for that. I knew very little about what was happening today, so I'm going to say a general thank you to all the people Susan and Sarah thanked, because I don't have a list anywhere, because I was never given a list of any of the names or what's going on. So thank you. I think I was partially deliberately kept in the dark because they didn't want me to sabotage anything. I can't tell you how truly blessed I feel to be your rabbi. And you know, Rabbi Miller spoke about this a little bit. I had no intention of coming to New Jersey. None. And you know, I grew up in Brooklyn, as some of you did, and you know, you learn certain things when you live in Brooklyn, like don't go to New Jersey. And coming here was unbelievably serendipitous, because at no point have I actually applied to a job at Anshe Emeth. And there was, when doing the interviews 10 years ago, there was a moment when all the rabbis in waiting go to a campus, and that's where the first round of interviews were. It felt a lot like the Hunger Games or Lord of the Flies, where here are your friends and now you're fighting one another for the position. And there was a moment that I truly felt kind of disgusted at the process. And it was at that exact moment that the dean of our school walked in and said, there's a rabbi from New Brunswick, New Jersey, who has a couple openings, and if anybody wants to just talk with him, you know, he's not necessarily looking for more people to apply, but wants to meet future colleagues. And if anybody would like to, you know, go up and chat with him, he'd be more than happy to have a conversation. And I immediately said, I'd love to have a, you know, chat. It was essentially get me out of this room. And I walked in the room, he said, hi, I'm Bennett Miller, and a little warm in here, let's take off the coats and relax and just have a conversation. And for the next 40 minutes, we just chatted like friends, talking about what's exciting about the Jewish future, and how do we think about the power of relationships in synagogues, and why we both felt this calling to do this work. Whereas all the other conversations that I was having was just the repetition of, so why do you want to be a rabbi? And like, oh, that's a really good question. No one has asked me that 20 times in a row. And then you've got to fake something interesting. We just had a genuine conversation about the future. And all the other congregations wanted to know, well, how are you going to solve affiliation issues, and how are you going to solve this, and how, and the future is looking so dark, and here's this rabbi from New Jersey, of all places, talking about the excitement of what's to come. And I think at the end of it, he said, "Oh, it's time for us to, we didn't even talk about the resume or the job or anything like that. We got a 5-minute warning." And he said, "Well, I'm glad you finally decided to apply." I'm like, I haven't. And he looks at my resume and sees that I had the background education and that the position was for somebody to run the religious school. He said, "Well, why didn't you apply?" "Well, I don't want to run a religious school. I want to be the rabbi." Much similar to what he said too. And it wasn't until later on that I realized how much of our stories were so identical to one another and how we got to New Jersey. Because I knew from that very moment that I wanted to work with him, and that there was this inspirational leader and rabbi that was unlike the other ones that I could really learn something remarkable from. And then I got the call saying we want to do a callback. Still kind of surprised because I hadn't applied. But how could I say no for that opportunity? And from the moment Allison and I walked in through the doors and was greeted with that warmth, that absolute warmth of spirit, we knew we had to come here. And it's been a phenomenal journey, and Bennett, I can't thank you enough for the guidance and friendship and partnership that we have, and it's been truly remarkable. You were all talking about how lucky you feel to have me, but in truth, it's I who feel lucky to have all of you. And Anshe Emeth is just an unbelievable home, and it's an unbelievable community. And I constantly have conversations with colleagues, and I always want to keep my mouth shut because I don't want to sound like I'm bragging about how special it is here. Because what we have is truly unique. And I can't tell you how it did not go unnoticed or unappreciated that during COVID, you were all looking out for me as well. Because I had many colleagues and friends who didn't feel that from their congregations. And there was not a moment where, when I have needed it, you haven't helped lifted me up in return. So thank you. I want to thank Susan and Sarah for putting all of this together. I even want to thank Ina, who forced me to do this. And I want to thank not only Ina for the wonderful partnership and friendship that we have as the temple president, but all the presidents that I've worked with since coming here a decade ago. It's been wonderful to work with all of you, even David Levine. But starting with Mark and Sherry, who opened up their doors to us when Gavin was 3 days old and we lost power because of Hurricane Sandy. Or Mike and Reggie and Daryl and all of you have been wonderful and have become friends. And also all of the past presidents who have welcomed me with such wonderful arms, and I can't tell you how much I wish we had been partners in that capacity. We would have had a blast. So thank you. Reverend Capperdale, it was such a wonderful surprise to have you here and to have you speak. It was the first service. It not only was the first service, but it was my first day working at Anshe Emeth when you came in to talk about Indonesian refugees, and particularly Harry's journey. And I remember thinking during the sermon, here's a guy I've got to work with. And this is what it means to have a prophetic voice. And it has been a wonderful treat for me to get to know you and your family and your community, to get to know people like Harry intimately, to be a part of Interfaith Rise with you, and to do all this wonderful work. Because, the two of us, our communities together, have created this beautiful light in central New Jersey. And you even showed me how to get to the Elizabeth Detention Center for a good protest or two. So thank you very much, and we're working on a desegregation of New Jersey public schools now. So that's the issue that's burning for us. So we'd love to have your community join us on it. I'm really appreciative today to be able to celebrate with my family, Les and Beth, my in-laws. I'm so glad that you're able to be here, and thank you for all the support that you've given, especially in the month of June when Allison goes up to camp, and you're there to take care of the boys with me. So thank you. It's been, you all have been nothing but warm and welcoming to me, and thank you. My mother, Miriam, and I know she speaks with me, or I speak for her when I say that the community has become her home as well. And as we've gone through things in our family, the synagogue's been there to help her, and we both are very appreciative of that. Thank you for being here, Mom. And to my wonderful wife, Allison, who, whenever I say I got a meeting or I've got another thing has come up, whatever it might be, okay. And to the boys, even when they clog up the bathroom with bubbles during a religious school orientation meeting, you've always kept us on our toes in such wonderful ways. I love Isaac's laugh, by the way. The Pegmans have become a wonderful family, friends to us, especially during COVID. And you might have all heard Isaac's laugh in the background while I did Zoom Friday night calls for services. And I want to thank you guys too for your friendship. And it's been wonderful. And I want to thank Mark, who's become a wonderful clergy partner with me. We survived the high holidays. At some point, we should probably talk about services tomorrow morning. By the way, there are services tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Heather and Matt, Melissa, and our administrative staff, Bennett and Anna. You know, we are who we are as a community because of everybody who's in there. And I'm certain I did not thank everybody I should have. But I really do feel unbelievably lucky to be your rabbi. And we are who we are because of everybody under this tent. And yes, it is a big tent. And it's only getting bigger. But we do remarkable things. And I want to thank all of you for your encouragement and your love. And thank you all.